Top 5 what? Comedians I don't think are funny?
That you're friends with. Not okay, let's go.
But
Nobody answers. Every time I ask one of these stupid guys who's friends with Joe Rogan,
what do you mean?
who all have the same friend group, they won't answer this question.
I have other friends.
Yeah.
I have a diverse group of friends.
Go ahead, name 5 of them that aren't funny.
5 people that I know that aren't funny.
That are comedians.
Brendan Schaub. Very funny. Very funny man.
Oh,
Cracks
he's
me up.
funny?
Very funny. Very strong.
Do you legally have to say that?
No. Listen.
There's a couple 100,000 of us now.
You're part of that community? Who started it?
Oh, you know what email I use too?
Which?
You know.
What is it?
Tiger Belly. Now that I mentioned that, are you going to call me after this and threaten to kill me?
Never.
No?
Never.
I would guess that that's something you might do.
No, I would never do that.
So back in my day, podcasts used to be raw, authentic conversations between friends, talking about something interesting, ideas clashing, and sometimes some personal drama here and there. But now, it feels like every single podcast is the exact same. They all follow the same formula, which is basically to copy Joe Rogan's talking points in hopes of, at some point in the future, maybe being on the show and agreeing with him, which I don't blame them. Everyone wants to be on Joe's podcast, blow up, and then eventually cash in. But when it comes to comics, because that naturally heavily influences what they will and will not talk about or joke about, I don't know if that's the best formula, because it would be like trying to be funny while tiptoeing through a field of landmines. But in this case, the landmines are Joe's opinions. And if you step on one of them, well, you're not getting that invite text to dinner, the podcast, or the mothership. And so among what is basically the wasteland of the current comedy podcast scene, Matan's podcast definitely stands out. And it does feel a little bit like a breath of fresh air, because for the past couple of months, the show has become the perfect place to expose those comedians who take themselves way too seriously and refuse to address the obvious. Think about it like the Eric Andre show if Eric Andre was committed to trolling the Rogan sphere.
Have you ever tried a Mexican cookie? It's like a chocolate chip with salsa all over it.
It's my favorite food, to be honest with you. I love the sweet and the spicy. I've always been kind of a sweet and spicy person myself, like behind my face.
Sorry, I got distracted a little bit. Why is the Mexican cookie chocolate chip with salsa all over it your favorite food?
Because it's not what you would expect, and it's what I call a sensual food.
Have you tried it before?
No, but I'm going to.
Who's going to introduce you to it?
Probably Matan.
If it wasn't me, because earlier you said it was your favorite food, implying that you would have tried it so
yeah,
far.
because I went through it in my mind.
Who would have introduced you to that?
Who would have introduced me to a chocolate chip cookie?
Chocolate chip with salsa all over it.
Somebody of Latin descent.
Viral flooring?
And you're the one who told me he was Venezuelan.
Where's Brendan Schaub from?
It's Schaub. You have to say his name right.
Brendan Schaub?
Yeah, Brendan Schaub. He is not Mexican.
So why would
He's
you?
not Latin.
So then
he's actually a white boy.
So why didn't you say that?
Well, because you said Schwab and I said Schaub.
That's where I got introduced to it, and it's my favorite food.
Really?
Yeah,
From
the Mexican
Brendan?
cookie.
Oh, you know what, dude? You led me down the rabbit hole, and I fell for it. I'm not into guys.
But you're a fighter, right?
Yes.
You had more fights than a UFC fighter in the street.
Dude.
You've had more street fights than UFC fighters.
I know what you're doing to me. I know what you're doing to me, dude. All right? Now listen to me. All I'm saying is if there's a situation, okay?
Well, I'll just say this. I'm a big fan of you two.
I appreciate that.
Who do you... Okay, well, you know who I'm saying. You and... Yeah. So I am just...
Me and Brennan.
I just know all about you guys, and I'm happy that you're here, and...
Okay.
Now, I'm pretty sure that most of you guys have heard of the legendary Mexican cookie joke told by Brendan Schaub, which I thought was the perfect way to begin the conversation of the episode, because right away, Matan makes a reference to Brendan's horrible comedy special, The Gringo Papi, and from that moment on, the pace does not change for the entire episode. I mean, Matan did hammer Callen with a bunch of questions and references to Fighter and the Kid lore and past drama. And so technically, instead of being a typical weird or awkward Matan podcast episode, it was like watching a politician with a scandal showing up to answer questions. It was wild. And in this case, Callen was getting grilled and Matan was asking and saying what everyone was thinking. Now, to be fair, Callen did handle it well and had some pretty funny moments here and there. But I mean, at this point, it's nearly impossible to mess up on Matan's podcast because now everyone has David Lucas as the perfect example of what not to do on the show.
Come here. Put that shit in your face now. You want to smell it?
Not particularly.
I'll make him smell it. Oh, let's see if your ass talk now, man. I bet you say, "God damn, I put that shit up under that
Listen,
door."
we need to get back to the podcast.
That hey, that t-shirt ain't gonna cover it up, bro. You still gonna smell this. They took no shower and I'm straight off a plane, boy. This shit.
Is that something to be bragging about?
And by the way, seeing Bryan Callen on Matan's podcast was very interesting because I'm pretty sure the Bobby Lee is somehow helping out Matan, whether it is with studio space, production, or maybe by connecting him with all the comedians, which would make sense because we did cover Matan's appearance on the Bad Friends podcast a while back. And back then, Bobby did mention that he wanted to help out Matan's show, and he sounded very serious.
Because after this, we have each other's numbers.
Okay.
I feel like there's
Is that like a threat?
No, I feel like there's gonna be some dinners you and I are gonna have. Oh yeah, you know that. And I'm gonna be your mentor. Yeah, you know that. We talked about it. I'm gonna help you.
Oh, he's overwhelmed.
No, I'm good.
Because no, you're not. No, you're not. Matan, I really like you. I think you're a good kid.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that there's something about you that's very interesting, and I just wanna be around wherever it grows. I want to be there.
Wherever it grows, it goes.
Thank you, Ravel.
Thank you, Matan.
But also, I'm pretty sure that at some point I did see Carlos, one of the producers for Bad Friends, on a random frame from Matan's podcast. And so if that's the case, I wonder if Callen being on the show is him being a step closer to fixing things with Bobby Lee, or if him being invited was just random and had nothing to do with Bobby. And by the way, don't forget to like the video. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think Steve Byrne cracks me up. I think Andrew Santino is hilarious.
Okay.
I think Bobby Lee's hilarious.
So that's the 5.
I think Sebastian Maniscalco is hilarious.
Okay, so 6.
I have a lot of famous friends. Joe Rogan. I can keep going.
Well, I said, okay, well, let's move on to the next segment.
Sorry,
Who now the 5 least funny? So now you can get to those guys.
That's a f***ed up question, bro.
It's a smart question.
But it's a
you
smart
already,
question.
You already have one in there
It's
so
a
far.
smart question.
Yeah. You already have the first one.
Wait a minute.
I'm just assuming that you knew that was the next question. No. That's why you said guy at the end.
Dude, let me explain.
I'm just
Matan, do you understand he could make one phone call? He could open his window and whisper, and this whole podcast goes away?
Oh, are we talking about Brendan Schaub or Joe Rogan?
We're talking about Joe Rogan.
Oh, I love Joe Rogan. He's funny. Oh, but he's in that top 5, the second list. So now finish the next 4.
I mean, the 4 who are not funny, there are a lot of comics.
We both know who the next guy is. Will you say it?
There are a lot of. Why do you keep looking up? I feel like you're baiting me. Listen,
I'm looking up.
There are a
because
lot
I'm
of
just so
comics.
Excited.
Okay, look.
I can't contain to look at you because
Listen,
you're laughing. You're all smiling.
I'm not laughing. Listen,
I'm trying to say
I'm
stay
being
all serious and business style.
When it comes to comedy,
No,
it
when
takes.
I asked you real quick, I'm just gonna interrupt you because I don't want to hear this shit.
Okay.
When I asked you for the 5 funniest, you gave me 6 in like 20 seconds.
I did.
Now, when I'm asking for the 5 least funny, I know what names are coming to your mind.
You are not a mind reader, dude.
Now, it is really wild how some comedians who often label themselves as modern day philosophers and really take pride in pushing the line and being able to say whatever they want, they all crumble whenever they get asked the most basic question ever, which is, who do you think from your friend group is not funny? And it's not just Callen. We saw the same thing with Whitney Cummings recently and others as well.
Do you think she's funny?
She is very funny.
Okay. Did you wink?
No.
I don't think the camera could pick up, but she
I'm going to make you cut this out.
Oh, no, we can't include this?
I just am not going to get into like beef with comics, you know?
Okay, fair.
And sure, not everyone enjoys trashing their peers, and comedians are very sensitive, but isn't comedy supposed to be about honesty, even when it's uncomfortable? Because it is really wild hearing Callen just casually drop that Joe Rogan could end the show by just whispering out the window or whatever, not because it sounds like a threat, but because it sounds kind of like what Bobby Lee said that Callen and Schaub told them on that infamous phone call when they were screaming at him, basically saying that Brendan Schaub could end Bobby Lee's career by exposing him to Joe Rogan. Speaking of which, here's the moment that Matan finally starts to bring up the Bobby Lee drama and also mentions the infamous subreddit, which is really funny because, once again, keep in mind that the whole downfall for Brendan Schaub and Bryan Callen came from the drama between them and Bobby Lee and Kalila. And because the subreddit was there the whole time to document every step of the way of the whole drama, it naturally blew up and became massive.
Do you listen to Fighter and the Kid?
I don't listen.
See, I
No,
knew
no,
it. I knew it.
No.
You went like this. You went which means no.
I don't listen to the full episodes, but
there's so much nuance that you can't.
Well, I listen to. I hear about it from different sources.
So you're hearing a third party, dude. I need you to get involved in the podcast Fighter and the Kid, and you will see that I'm not just the only genius in that fucking duo. It's Brendan Schaub.
I'll tell you this:
Brown
I'm
Schaub.
a big part of the community.
Are you talking about the underground community? You son of a... Listen, Matan. I love that name. I'm going to be honest with you. I wish it's almost a hero's name. Like, watch this.
You're saying I'm a hero for confronting a bunch of unfunny comedians?
Well, no. I just like the idea. They're coming over the hill. What do we do? Get Matan.
I've been watching the start. I've been...
no, because you were...
Eventually, I unsubscribed.
You did?
But I subscribed to a different page.
You unsubscribed to my podcast?
I unsubscribed from the YouTube. I subscribed to the Reddit.
That doesn't help me.
Oh, that doesn't make you any money?
No, and it doesn't help me. And I feel like, you're adding your voice to a lot of negativity.
No, I'm not. I'm just a happy guy who is a big...
And I will tell you this about Reddit.
Yeah.
I had no idea how big it was.
Until what?
My wife told me.
And when was that? I love Tiger. I went on there recently.
So do I. Did Bobby mention me?
Off camera.
Did he say good things?
He said that you threatened to beat him up and kill him.
I can't remember exactly.
He didn't mention that, but I heard on that community.
What the... Bro, you led me down that rabbit hole. Why are you getting your information from the community? Why can't you just talk to me or Brendan?
This is my first time meeting you, and Brendan won't talk to me.
What do you mean?
I don't know how to get in contact with him.
I'll get you on the podcast. Fighter
Call
and
him
the
right
Kid.
now.
And look, what's really funny is that it does seem like Callen understands and knows most of the references. I mean, at times, it almost looked like he wanted to laugh, but then quickly remembered that he needed to get back in character and defend Brendan Schaub. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually lurking and browsing the subreddits at times, which would be wild because that would mean that he knows and understands that being associated with Brendan Schaub and being close friends with him means that he will potentially have to always defend Brendan Schaub whenever somebody makes fun of him when talking to Callen, which is absolutely exhausting. And funny enough, something very similar happened to Bobby Lee back when that whole drama happened, because back then a lot of people did not like the way that he treated the whole situation with Kalila by essentially defending her and continuing to push it to the fans, even though at that point Kalila was equally if not more hated than Brendan Schaub. I mean, people might forget, but she was actually the female version of Brendan. But anyways, the point is that ever since then Bobby did a full rebrand and now is no longer seen as Kalila simp, and he basically proved that in fact he did not need Kalila to be successful and to have a successful podcast. And now you could argue that she was potentially holding him back. Now, I'm not saying that Brendan Schaub is holding Callen back. That's silly. But I do think that having to constantly defend Brendan Schaub's reputation while he himself doesn't really care and is doing the opposite is not productive at all. And the truth is that if at some points Bobby Lee and Bryan Callen want to have an honest conversation and try to fix things, Callen cannot continue to defend Brendan Schaub because, for example, to this day, we still don't know for sure if Brendan Schaub was actually telling the truth about him believing that Bobby Lee was behind the subreddit and getting false information, or if that was all simply just a distraction to take attention away from the accusations that Brendan Schaub was allegedly threatening to sue Kalila and Annie Letterman because they were talking about how an unfunny comedian was trying to hit on both of them.
Yeah, well, what would you like to know?
I would like to know
the email?
About what?
About Tiger Belly?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I love Bobby. He's my friend.
Bang, bang, bang.
Hold
Is that
on.
what you're threatening to do?
Hold on.
Oh, I see the correlation.
You weren't
now.
there, dude. Don't get your information from the community. You're getting it from me.
I see it now. I
feel
have a
like-
new conspiracy.
What do you mean?
You thought he bullied you, so you
No.
threatened to go to his
No,
house
I
and bang his door in and beat him and
no,
kill
no,
him.
no. You're crossing the stories.
Yeah, that's the point.
He didn't bully me. I bullied him.
You thought he
apologize.
bullied your friend.
I knew he wasn't involved. I thought.
So you just went manic, or what happened?
Yeah, I went a little manic,
Oh.
and I also thought that his team was involved in something, which I found out later. I was working on the wrong information.
Did you find out that they were involved?
Well, the bottom line is the way I treated
You're
Bobby was
sweating
wrong.
now. You're sweating. Your face
no.
is
The way I
red.
treated Bobby was completely wrong, and I apologize 50,000 times. And I love him.
I forgive you if you get Brendan on here.
Okay, you want me to bring him on?
And once again, if Bobby Lee does have some sort of influence on Matan's podcast, or if he was involved in getting Callen on the show, then again, it could mean that Bryan Callen is a step closer to being friends with Bobby Lee once again. Because, technically Callen and Bobby Lee were caught up in Kalila's and Brendan Schaub's drama, because back then, Schaub did launch the first nuke and dragged Callen into a fight by basically showing him fake intel from Bobby Lee's camp. And then Kalila responded not only by exposing Brendan Schaub and outing him, but also by doing it live on the H3 podcast.
You want
Name
me to
that.
name?
Yeah, name someone. Brendan Schwab. I'm a beast. Wait, we can't talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Aw.
If you
No,
I would love to.
talk about what?
Why don't you want to talk about Brendan Schwab? But you're down.
No. So, Brendan Schaub? You gently do it, but this is on you. This is on you.
Okay, so Brendan,
here's what I
This
say.
is on you, and that's it.
he's a comedian
Yeah.
that
And as we mentioned, that was a big reason why we started this channel, because I clearly remember watching it live and being so shocked and mind blown, but had no one to share it with because none of my friends knew anything about the Rogan sphere or comedy podcasts. And so back then we made a video about it and haven't stopped ever since. But yeah, once again, the episode was very entertaining and it was fun to watch. The trolling was perfect, and Callen did handle that very well, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to Schaub, I highly doubt that he would ever do the show, although I think it would be a step in the right direction, but I doubt it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today. See ya.